have been adhering to ISO 2002 for a considerable amount of time. With banks now having the go-ahead for stablecoins and cryptocurrency, it's a standard that, in my opinion, will pave the way for blockchain technology to be heavily integrated into the banking system. I believe that we need to pay even more attention to this today than we have in the past. However, if we go back in time to ISO 2002, many people were strongly connecting this to XRP. As of right now, we know that ISO 222 is not really important for the value of XRP or anything like it, even if it was never really intended to be connected to it. However, we are aware that this norm requires institutions to innovate. They must be creative. Additionally, they will begin to be phased away if they don't. As a result, ISO 222 will require banks to update their systems for the first time ever. What's the next improvement then? What will they be upgrading to? The blockchain and DLT rails will be where we begin to genuinely connect it to XRP, and that's where the importance of this standard becomes apparent. This is greatly facilitating the adoption of DLT and blockchain. However, we currently have a forecast on this as well. Currently, ISO 22 payment instructions are being adopted. The adoption is also visible here. Although it's a little bit, scratched, we can see it rather clearly from over here. As a result, we may observe that 70% by 2025. The real number is 35%, thus around half, followed by 91% by November 2025. Now, 91% is a noteworthy percentage. If we're using the actual prediction plus the projected top 175 originators as a half point between the second quarter of 2025 and the second quarter of 2025, I would estimate probably about, as I mentioned, 45%. However, this indicates that the adoption rate is beginning to increase. In other words, it is visible from the first quarter of 2024 until the second quarter of 2025. So once more, we're essentially examining that November 2025 period. And the reason for that is that this is somewhat in line with blockchain. Consider it. By the end of August, stablecoin laws will be enforced thanks to the SEC and its established crypto task force. In addition to what the FSB told us, it's fascinating to see how clarity surrounding blockchain and cryptocurrency is becoming a reality in the US. They plan to promote a worldwide crypto harmonized framework by the end of 2025, which will essentially provide clarity to the whole crypto business. We're not sure if that will be the case, though. The FSB is collaborating with the G20, the IMF and the BIS, but some of these things do get delayed. I've been keeping a careful eye on that group, particularly because of their worldwide harmonized framework. However, this is consistent with the implementation of ISO 222 and the standard's increasing recognition. Now, let's visit Smoke Dog's post to actually discuss that a little bit further. Use cases for XRPs in Swift-compatible systems will increase in frequency as ISO 222 payment instructions spread throughout the network. Swift and XRP are shown together in the Earthport diagram under payment instruction, which describes the information used to transfer money, whether it be cryptocurrency or fiat. The fact that XRP-based payments depend on ISO 22 compliant instructions guaranteeing compatibility with the Swift network is further supported by Ripple publications. And those pictures are truly visible here. Payment instructions for global connectivity are located on the left. In terms of that format transition, Swift and Ripple are on the left, while I apologize for the inconvenience at the center point, Earthporter. But come on over here. For local fiat currency bridges, fiat to fiat exchanges, pricing quotes, and FX with stable coins, we do have XRP. It makes sense for XRP to remain that bridge given how the FX markets are essentially moving on-chain. Additionally, there are payment instructions at the bottom on the right side. Next, the ISO 22 packing 0.8 message specification serves as the foundation for the integration module of the ISO 22 Ripple Net Payment Object Standards. All of these payment instructions are widely being adopted as far as we can tell. What is going on in October of this year on top of this? ECD becomes once more reliable coins remain the foundation of this, but because we're going back to that FX paradigm, we're still looking at stable coins becoming a significant thing. This is that FX model where the bridge is XRP at the center. The digital euro will be available in October. Christine Lagarde, the president of the European Central Bank, has stated that the ECB will make a decision about the introduction of a digital euro by October of this year. Pay close attention. The deadline is October 2025. Whether or not we proceed is up to my governing council. Thus, that day is significant. In order for us to start, I fervently hope that by that time the European Parliament has passed the laws supporting our work on the Unified Rulebook, policy and technology. What interests me now is the language used in some of these launches or in any other items that have somewhat matched XRP exactly. For example, we have discussed the BIS with the CBMI group using XRP. That occurred just after it was announced that XRP was not a security back in 2023. Ripple made the CBMI group a reality. And the same sort of applies to all of these digital euro or digital pound or CBDC launches that are happening right now. Everything is fitting into a schedule. What time period does that follow? In addition to keeping up with events surrounding XRP, since, once more, a lot of things are related to XRP, it also complies with legal requirements. Christine Lagarde stated that the digital euro is more relevant than ever in the first announcement, which took place on March 13. The decision to issue it will only be taken into consideration if the required legislation is completed. This preparation period finishes in October. We already know that the EU enacted NECA, but given the current state of law involving CBDCs, digital euros, and similar initiatives, I do believe that the EU is also sort of following the US's lead. In my opinion, this is the best CBDC by far. Second, though, I believe that the US's efforts regarding stablecoins and cryptocurrency are beginning to spread widely over the globe, which is beginning to pressure other countries to step up their own attempts. You know, it would be crazy if the digital euro were released in October. That's because it would speed up everything else after the fact. Additionally, I believe that the United States has already embraced stablecoin projects to a significant extent by October. We're already welcoming all stablecoins into our community. It is onshore and denominated in USD, meaning Ripple. However, Swift is also where this is taking me, isn't it? Since this is a digital euro once more. According to them, it's a CBDC. To put it simply, it's a stablecoin, which is the same as a CBDC. I have discussed it more than once. However, this is in line with what Swift has been advising. Their hackathon is right here, isn't it? Hackathon in 2025. Demonstrating the advantages of digital currencies while maintaining interoperability, compliance, and effective cross-border movements is more important than ever as CBDCs, stablecoins, and other digital currencies gain traction. All right, let's consider this now. The Digital Euro Association includes Ripple. They joined this in 2022. Within this group is Ripple is merely tests, isn't it? To not only build they are evaluating several aspects of a digital euro, including its viability, advantages, and efficiency. Thus, the Digital Euro Association is just this. This also applies to the Digital Pound Foundation, which we will discuss shortly. However, the reason I'm bringing this up and discussing all of this is because Swift is currently discussing stablecoins, CBDCs, and cross-currency flows, specifically efficient cross-currency flow. Let's return to the smoke dog graphic from earlier, which demonstrated how to bridge two currencies in 3 seconds using a single fixed rate. This is quick, affordable, dependable, and easy to use. Additionally, it has no risk or volatility and is completely transparent. This is enormous. The cross-currency flow issues that plague conventional payments today are resolved by this. Furthermore, XRP is an effective bridge between two assets such as stablecoins and CBDCs. As David Schwartz described in 2021, stable currencies and CBDCs are two examples of the assets that XRP effectively connects. It's impartial, it has no jurisdiction, it resists censorship, lacks a central counterparty in which you must have faith. The blockchains are what create the level playing field that will allow banks and regulators to operate in a multi-asset future without having to cope with hundreds of different controllers, hundreds of different APIs or various rule sets. It may be thought of as a kind of universal bridge. Thank you. Now, he is not alone in saying this. Marcus Treasure also made